This is an example we took the board through once before on the far right there, that graph. What the quarters mean, that even though the smoothing method here shows an actual value of assets that's much higher than market value, it must be within this bound if you have a quarter. Negative amortization has been spoken about. If we had a 30-year amortization of your unfunded liabilities, your amortization payments are not level dollars. They're a level percent of pay. So they increase with payroll, which means that you're actually in a negative situation in the early years where that gold bar is, or that gold area is your unfunded liability in this example, and it grows because payments in the early years are not equal to interest in the unfunded. But then as payments get higher and higher, get over the curve, and the unfunded liability is amortized. In San Diego's situation, the initial payments are kept level to be equal to interest only, which keeps the unfunded liability from growing, and then ultimately the payments increase, and that's what negative amortization means and what it's about for San Diego. We do not have another plan that applies this method. Finally, we have a series of projections. I am not going to take you through all the projections, but you'll have them with you. This slide is just going to explain how they're organized. We've got 12 projections on the left that are with requiring negative amortization, not requiring that you not have negative amortization, and then that's projections 1 through 12. And 13 through 24 are identical to 1 through 12, with the exception that you allow negative amortization. And then you see on the first 12, the first 6 have the current smoothing period or percentage of 25%, and the last 6 have 10%. And then you can see the ones that have different amortization periods for the loss, and then the quarters. So 24 projections, and what follows are going to be the actual numbers, not just pictures. And you see the numbers up on top correspond to the on this page to what the projection number is. And again, anything in green is the current practice, anything in pink is changing it. And so we've got these 12 projections for the city with no negative amortization, and then 12 with allowing negative amortization. And then the same thing for the unfunded projections, not allowing negative amortization and allowing. And then we have the exact same charge for the UPD and the airport authority. So I don't think you'd want me to go through all these numbers with you. But that concludes my formal presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
It appears to me that regardless of whether or not we were to take an aggressive stance in this or maintain status quo, what the city faces is unsustainable. That is, the percentage of payroll dedicated to funding this. Some substantial things have to happen at the plan sponsor level in order to sustain this SERS fund.
Or
we really got lucky.
Or we have some great returns in the 1950s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think that's an important thing to understand, that regardless of what we do, there's a major funding issue that is unsustainable, even under very optimistic. If we cut all our things and then we got a 20% annual return, no problem. But under a realistic investment return scenario, there's a major plan sponsor problem.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like being mayor is a good job.
That's not an actual issue.
If the city, if the sponsors were to have difficulty making any of these payments, can we model the longevity of the system? It's more of a Armageddon scenario, I suppose, but I think it's worthwhile to try to understand that as well.
You mean, could we model showing that for example, that we would cap the contribution at a certain level?
Yeah.
I can't do it on the spot, but I can get it teed up for the next time.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to understand. I need to understand more from staff the annual funding requirements to meet beneficiary obligations, to fully appreciate that. But it's really looking at more of a cash burn.
Okay. we'll have that good for you.
Okay.
Yeah, Gene, back to slide 28, across that spectrum of options, as you sit here today, are these reasonable within your guidelines? Or do you start to get a little edgy when you get over to...
I'm edgy on E and F. And in fact, even start to on D. I'm not going to be making a recommendation today, but B is one that looks... B and C are identical because you're at 131%, so it doesn't do much. But it is to your credit that your ratio is 130 versus the others being at 141 and 150. So you have had some...
And D, if you look at it, you're at basically 318 in the fiscal year 15 versus 250.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.